So, some probably stuff I've already said before, but with some new finesse. And I think I figured it out. I think I figured out how I'm supposed to do my expression. Because obviously the universe is unbelievably full of information. And I wouldn't even say unbelievable, that's a retarded word to use. It's so mutated that you wouldn't be able to put it all into one picture in your lifetime. No way. There's absolutely no way you could render an entire, even like an entire area, like a garden. Yeah, no. As soon as you get to atom level, you'd be sitting there putting particles for the rest of your fucking life. I mean, you'd hope that they're all in a pattern, that they're all related in the same pattern, and then maybe it might be doable. Maybe it's doable. Maybe it's actually doable to have that level of detail, but I don't think we actually understand enough to be able to do that properly. So, I don't know. It's a weird thing. So, I mean, I obviously want to know how to do that, but I just don't think I'd be capable of doing it without all the information right in front of me, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So whilst we're still in limited world information, and people still don't know the anatomical structure of an entire garden properly, well, they might do actually, I don't know how far I mean, maybe some severe like atomists who really understand how atoms work know this stuff. I wish I knew, and then I could utilize that in my work, but I still think that the amount of information wouldn't be able to fit on a computer. Like, seriously, no joke. I think, like, even if you use like a text file and you just have a bunch of symbols for every millions and millions of atoms, I just think you'd have trillions of gigabytes of billions of gigabytes of data, let alone the molecular data and everything else. It's insane. So it's just not, I don't think it'll ever be feasible for the longest of time until storage space gets higher, or there's another method used, maybe some kind of like frame by frame animation kind of thing, where you just, one image at a time, and like a camera, with all that data on there, all accurate. But I mean, just looking through an anatomy book is hard enough. Think what you have to do at a molecular level, and then an atomic level, and then a subatomic. I think it's subatomic, then an atomic, isn't it? No, wait, atomic, then subatomic. Yeah. So So there has to be a compromise. There has to be a compromise. There's absolutely no way that someone could actually put atom level detail into anything but maybe a picture, but then you'd have to know all the details. So, I mean, yeah, you could put atom level detail into an idea, but if it's accurate or not is a question among questions. So, I think it's best if I try to aim for that, but know that I'm probably never going to get there until either technology gets a lot better, obviously. So with that in mind, I think you can sort of maybe put the pieces together to what I'm about to say, but I think I figured it out. I think I finally figured out what I have to do to be absolutely, unbelievably incredible. And I use that word again, I wish I didn't. Absolutely incredible, and that is to have the 16 energies, like the laws of the 16 energetic types of the universe in my work. Now, I've said this before, but I think that's it. Like, if I could just have one frame of every single energy with all their energetic laws, I have essentially constructed the world's shittest universe ever. And there you go. Done. Genius. Amazing. It's the best thing possible. It's right there. So that's it. That's what I'm aiming for in everything I do now. Where possible, I'm going to aim for that. And once I've done it once, which I know I can do, somewhat, I'd have to do a bit more research and understand. I still need to understand how energy actually works, which I've said before. But once I do, in a more bigger view, I will be able to fully take advantage of that and then apply that to all my work, and 100% guarantee everyone will like it, unless they hate music or art or something stupid like that. Even then they probably would like it, they just cover it up with ignorance or something. So yeah, there you go, and that's what I'm going to do. Now obviously that's very difficult to do when you don't understand it fully, so I can only do it as much as I know. I'm definitely going to apply that to my sex experiences, for damn sure. I cannot wait. I am looking forward to that moment where I can finally show someone a leaflet or a beautifully designed selection of all the experiences they're going to give to them, and then each page is like a category, like an energetic category. So one would be radiant, one would be thermal, then another one would be all the others, and I just be built myself around these things. It's just incredible. And yeah, just that's it, done. I mean, if I wasn't Leonardo da Vinci, I think that right there would give me the Leonardo da Vinci title. So I don't even think Leonardo da Vinci even understood any of the shit I'm talking about right now. For damn sure. Isaac Newton wasn't even around. So back then they were all very like, what's this? How does that work? How does that work? A lot of the time. And maybe he had some forementioned notions of these things, but I'm sure, damn sure he didn't know that there was actual these different, there was like 16 different types of energy. I don't even think he was talking about that back then. He was talking about facial feature patterns and stuff like that, and artistic features and and artistic traits and things like that, all that kind of stuff. So just so wonderfully minded. I've been that's just it. I mean, what inspired me to come to this conclusion. I mean, I already sort of came to this conclusion, but I didn't really take it on board seriously. To be honest, it was more like it was seriously taken, but it wasn't like, no, you really have to do that. It was more like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So, what inspired me to do this, to come to this much more serious conclusion was that I was working on my Miris game idea book, and I was just doing the history of Miris, as I said in the last video, or the one before that, the one before the DJ video, and I was just developing the history of it, how the animals became what they were. This will all be publicly available once half the book is done. So, and then after, obviously, once the next part of the book is done, then it will be released as a publicly available game design book that no one can steal, obviously, because it's my work, obviously. Anyway, so yeah, so I was just trying to build up the mutational timeline of these animal species, and I just sort of fell into this whole, how did we evolve? I don't like using the word evolve because it's not really true. It's more like mutated. Yeah, how did we mutate to this point? And so I started going back, and I already knew kind of the answer, but I wasn't entirely sure. So I looked up Trilobites and fell on this new thing, like these things called Spriggina, which were similar to Trilobites in how they looked. They had the spiny, ridged back, but they didn't have all the other features. And then if you go further, you see that they almost resemble like multicellular plants. And I think that's where we came from. So once multicellular organism came in, I think what happened is they cultivated into like a bush of multicellular organisms, and some got into certain shapes that resembled worms of a kind. And then what happened was, as they continued to flourish, their mutations started to begin, because they were multicellular organisms, but they're all together. And if genetic mutations happened, that led to the possibility of them being able to move, and then started the animal. The moving. Once multicellular organisms can move, then anything can happen. Then, really. I mean, we're not anything, but you know what I mean. Anything within the environmental limitations and the multicellular limitations. And I think that's how Trilobites formed. And it's also quite obvious that happened because of the what are they called? Charnia, which were like these floaty little leaf plant, but they were actually multicellular organisms. So kind of put the pieces together and it kind of fits. It's like, so we did come from multicellular plants. Cool, isn't it? So it's kind of cool how plants grew on Earth, and then multicellular animals came from multicellular plants. Okay, kind of interesting. What happens in Miris, I mean, I don't want to kind of spoil it too much, but these slugs are formed from these sea worms that are formed in the sea many millions of years ago, and they just come into this. Well, they're not actually slugs, white slugs at the beginning, but they're sea worms, and then they get brushed across the beach for too long, and they can't get back to the sea because of the distance that the huge waves sent them into the beach. And then what happens is they slowly become adapted to being on the beach in rain puddles and things like this. So they have these eye stalks that grow from an accidental consequence of their neurological embryonic development. And so they can see above the rain and the sand puddles. Well, not sand puddles, but I mean it kind of is. I mean, in a way, but. And so that leads them into being able to be on the beach and be further away. And obviously they were there long enough that they could go across the land, the beach, of course, and that led them into falling into holes, which eventually led them into these crystal caves, and then all shit went to the shit. Because they will communicate, these sea worms communicate through reflection of light, and the only way they could reproduce is if they came out of the seawater onto the beach and then did their whole communication, mating, and then they could then mate then. They couldn't do it in the water because the light wasn't very reflective as they needed it to be. So obviously, they were communicating, and then when they were on the beach land, they were actually becoming more white because that's just seemed better for reflection. The communication was more vivid when they were white, and so they were favored more because of that. And so they fell into the cave, and then obviously these sea worms became a crystal cave, and they fell into that. And then obviously over time the ones who were able to have more stronger grip were able to stick onto the sea worms were able to stick more to the crystals if they were their body allowed for it. Obviously they were able to stick on the crystals because they were already able to do that as sea worms. They already had suction on their entire body, because they were able, that allowed them to be able to stick to the sand more easily, and then they could like sliver across the sand whilst being stuck to it, so they have more grip, and because of the reflective nature of their skin, they were able to use that, although I don't know how that actually happens, to be honest. That was kind of made up on the spot right then as I was saying it, but I don't know, I didn't think about that actually until just now. How the fuck did they get that grip? And how were they able to climb the crystal caves? Oh, I remember now. It's not, some of the crystals were actually flat planed, so they could go on the crystals on a flat plane, but not the ones that are at an angle, until they got the grip mutation, which would be inevitable if the way that their spine was has grown over and been mutated through when they were sea worms. If the mutation was, there was an unusual mutation which allowed for the grip of the worm's spines to grow outwards too much to form actually like spindle legs, and that allowed for more grip on the crystals, so they could come up the actual thing, because they weren't all one solid flat or cylindrical floppy worm. Now they're actually like floppy worms with spindle legs, and so they could use that to climb up the crystals that were only at a slight angle, not like fully angle, because they didn't have that whole slippery slope on their skin, right? Kind of makes sense, right? And then obviously there was holes at the top of the crystal cave ceiling, and so they were able to go up into this climb up and get up there, and then whilst they were in the crystal cave for a very long time, I think 10,000 or 100,000 years, they grew the ability to use the crystals to communicate, the reflective light of the crystals to communicate through using their skin. They'd use their skin and reflect the light off their skin into the crystals, and then they would reflect the light off into the other worm slugs. Well, they would eventually be slugs at that point, because obviously a worm with cylinder shape would be less favoured than something with a more flatter base or flatter shape, and so obviously the flatter shape won, of course, because that would be the one that would last, would be more efficient than a worm that has to flap around, and so that's how the slug thing formed, and then the spindle legs formed from that. That's what I was trying to get to. Yeah, and then they got onto the mossy floor and then of the Miris planet, and that's where I'm at the moment. It's something like that. I'm gonna have to go revise it now, change some things around, because I just came to conclusions as I was making this. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. I think it's awesome what Miris is now, and what it's become. Just this beautiful idea of how these white slugs that could communicate through reflecting light, reflecting color, could eventually become more human-like, or more intelligent, and more human-like, or more primate-like, actually. And that's how, it's going to happen. They're going to get on the mossy floor, and then shit's going to happen, and they're going to go more intelligent and more social communicative, and da-da-da, and then, yeah, wonders are going to happen. And that's going to be in the history back end of the Miris game. So I don't want to give too much away, so I probably won't update you guys on that too much. I'll just leave it at that, and you can be all in awe about white slugs in crystal caves using light reflection to communicate. So there you go. That's all I wanted to really say, I guess, for this video. I just really needed to get that out. Like, I was just watching Phoebe Ryan doing her songs, and just thinking like how far we've mutated from little multicellular plants to freaking animals who are almost as close enough to transform themselves entirely. We're getting closer to that point where we'll be able to transform ourselves entirely using technology that we've developed that started from little rocks bashing on. It's amazing. Little rock bashing is now, recreations of the universe. Absolutely incredible, or near recreations of the universe. So it's just amazing. So I think I'll leave it there. It's kind of like I don't know if I guess this is a life diary, but it's more like a conclusion. But I mean, it kind of is a life diary, because it's like, well, it's not. I mean, it's more like a holy shit kind of, not holy but shit, but I guess it's a life diary because it's related to my life. I guess it's just a short one, and a kind of repeated one, but with a bit more finesse, and that's basically what this was. So I think I'll leave it there. So thank you for listening. Bye. And thank you for all the commenters and people who've commented and stuff like that. I really appreciate that. One of the commenters is called Warpist. Another one was called Krish or something. And then there's Delamore 25 or 26, I can't remember. And then there's been some others, like on my older videos, I can't remember the names. But for anybody who's watching the INTP videos, obviously I'm an INTP, but like, sorry that I didn't change the titles of the INTP because, away from the INTP, because I can't remember the reason why. It was something like, because it showed that, ENTPs can get confused to being INTPs and stuff like that. I thought that might be useful for that reason. I didn't do it out of lazy reasons. I could easily go there and change them now, which I've been thinking about doing actually. But I say INTP in the video though, and I talk almost as if I'm an introvert, so I didn't know if it was a very good idea to be doing that. You've already confused it once, why do it twice, so it's probably better to just leave it with the INTP or delete the videos, and I didn't really want to delete videos because they were informative, so yeah, I just leave it alone. But yeah, so that's it. I'm just gonna put that energetic law into everything I do, and I don't think I can go wrong. And the hardest bit is trying to the decision between styling an idea towards a certain thing. So let's say I'm trying to make a song about bubblegum. I have to fit that bubblegum idea into the 16 energetic types and their laws, right? But does that still mean that the work is incredible? Does that still mean that's the ultimate work? Isn't the ultimate work more than bubblegum? And that's where the thing is, where the problem is for me. I guess you just have to say cut your losses. I guess if your intent is to do bubblegum, then your intent is to do bubblegum. But does that mean that I am genius material? Does that mean I have to do more than bubblegum? Can I not be Pacific? Do I have to stay within a universe out viewpoint, And if you're going to do that, I mean, you might as well just do one thing that is just unbelievable, just incredible. But then eventually someone's going to, I don't think you can do better than, unbelievable amounts of that. So energetic typology inside everything you've done. So I don't know, it's a hard one to decide. I guess you can do a bit of both then. You could say, okay, well, I'll do the bubblegum one anyways, but then my main serious work would be the universe one, and I think that would be what I'd aim for. But fuck, the amount of detail that's required to do just to get a realistic body part is just insane. It's just absolutely crazy. I think it's doable to get some accuracy, but just go down a deeper layer and it's just 20 times worse. So it's like you go as far as you can until it gets too painful, I guess. I mean, that's the best way I can put it out. Just keep going until it gets too painful, and if you feel like you can keep going, and that's how I'm going to treat it. But if it gets too impossible, then you just have to stop. Just say no. There's just no way I can get past this at this point in my life because of whatever reason. And that's how I'm taking it at the moment. I've already ran into that kind of problem with the freaking fundy formula. I know I was supposed to end the video, but I'm going to carry on for a few more minutes. Some of these penile anatomy details, there's like 0 pictures, or like 1 or 2 faint pictures that aren't even really pictures of the actual body part in any. They're like, just diagrams, and you just have to take that and hope that you can use that diagram in something useful. And if the information isn't there, you just have to kind of make it up, I guess, and find any textual information or any other information you can, and that's what I'm going to have to do, I guess. Also, another issue I figured out while I was doing it was that where's all this shit positioned? What's the sizes of these things? That's another issue. I just have to use the atlases and the books just to sort of guess, I don't know the exact dimensions of all this shit, so I just have to, fit it within a size and hope for the best, get it as accurate as I can, find whatever measurements, but I don't think it's probably advisable to follow other people's measurements. It's probably better just to use, the eye and, save a lot of time, and then also it will be probably more accurate because my eye is probably better than their eyes, even if they do have the accurate measurement, let's be honest. Sorry. So yeah, I'll leave it there, I think, with this video, but that's something that I'm dealing with at the moment, and I did make progress today, so. But I made progress the other time and the other time, so how much progress do I need to do? Well, I guess what's next on the list? Deep fascia of the penis. Where's the other one? Yeah, I've already done the fundiform ligament. I've done the superficial penile fascia, and I've done the deep fascia of the penis, and then I stopped for a bit because I got distracted with I wanted to take a break, I think, or something like that. Can't remember exactly, but I'm now going to do the tunica albuginea of corpus cavernosum, and then just keep going from there, I guess. So yeah, awesome. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Bye. When I find the close button.